Lori-Lyn. Welcome to my studio. Today I'm answering the question, what do you do if you go to the well and the well is dry? Or in other words, you want to make art, you want to create, but you don't feel inspired. And I guess I'm kind of two minds about this, which probably doesn't surprise you. I have multiple minds about everything. On the one hand, this is why we practice. Practice is practice. So whatever your practice is, whether it is creative practice, meditation, yoga, taking a walk, going to the gym, praying, reading, whatever it is that you do, that you engage in, that is your spiritual connection, your enhancement, your self-care, your grounding practices. The reason that a practice is a practice is that we do it consistently, no matter if there's inspiration or not. So no matter what you're feeling or what you're bringing to the table on that particular day, you engage with the practice. And because energies are always changing, and because some days you're going to feel inspired and some days you're not, what you produce is going to vary greatly. So if you have an art journaling practice, for instance, and every day at 10 o'clock in the morning you sit down with your art journal, there are going to be days when you create something or produce a spread that is just beautiful and you love it and you want to print it out, make a print of it. And there are going to be days when it's just junk, like when you produce something and then you just think, well, this is horrible and I'm just going to gesso over this. Both of those things are valid. Both of those products of the practice are completely valid, necessary, beautiful. They're reflections of whatever it is that's going on for you in that moment. And the practice builds on itself. So the days when you don't feel inspired, the days when the product doesn't turn out the way you like, they're sort of like a chain or a foundation that leads to the next time that things turn out the way you like. And that translates into any medium, of course, or any creative practice. There's something about devotion and dedication. There's something that you're telling yourself about yourself when you show up for a practice consistently, no matter how you feel, when you never let yourself off the hook, for instance. On the other hand, I'm a big believer in, I live my life through my intuition, through how I feel, through that sort of inner discernment of taking things into my heart and listening. Does this feel right or not? And I'm not someone who thrives with schedules and tight schedules. In fact, that's something that kind of runs counter to my own organic energy. I don't like looking at my planner and seeing a bunch of things scheduled, because if you ask me on Monday if I want to get together and have coffee on Friday at 3 o'clock, on Monday that might sound like a good idea to me, but on Friday at 2:30 I might not be feeling that way at all. And I like to have a lot of freedom in what I'm doing and when I'm doing it, and so that I can engage with the energies that are present at the time. So right now feels like a great time to take a walk. Right now my body's asking for yoga. Right now my body is asking for rest. And I like to have a little more flexible and freedom. And so perhaps art making and creation is that way as well. Maybe you're not always meant to do it. Maybe you wait for those moments of inspiration, or when the energies are right, or when it feels accessible to you to do it. I can see both ways. But sometimes I think when there's a resistance to creative expression, well, there are a billion different reasons why you might feel resistant or blocked about making something, creating something. And sometimes I think what is called for is to actually walk through that resistance and not push against it, not fight it, acknowledge it, but then keep moving forward, really taking your power and claiming your voice through the resistance and saying, well, I'm going to make something. I hear you, block. I hear you trying to keep me safe, trying to stop me, but I'm going to continue to go ahead and walk forward with creativity. This has a slightly different I have a slightly different perspective on this as someone who makes art professionally, because if I have a commission, if I'm painting for someone, um, I really need to be in the flow of that painting. So if I walk to the canvas, if I, set up my space and I walk to the canvas and I'm ready to work for someone and it's not there, and I'm grappling and grasping and it feels stilted, then I will walk away. I don't want to bring that energy into the painting for a client. I want those paintings to always come out of perfect, beautiful flow. I want them to be easy, because that's then the energy that will be translated in the piece when the commission goes to its owner. And so for that reason, I don't always know how long it's going to take for me to complete a painting. Sometimes it feels like there are things coming together under the surface and that I need to wait for those things to come together. I need to wait for that grid to come into place before I can paint or before I complete a painting. I always will leave a painting for a couple of days after I think it's completed and then come back to it to make sure like what else needs to come in. Maybe it's not really done. When I'm painting for myself, that's not necessarily the case. I will push sometimes when I'm painting for myself just because I want to be in the practice of painting. And that often leads to a mess, and it often leads to me abandoning a painting or having to gesso over and start again. But that's a difference between if I'm painting in my own if this is what I'm working with and this, or if I'm painting for someone else. If I'm painting for someone else, then I have a different standard for what I want that to feel like and the energies that are going into that. And so the way that I push through, step through, the way that I create if I go to the well and the well is dry is just by continuing to make a mark. And so I might have my art journal open and I'll just start making marks, or, stamping something, or gluing pages of scrapbook paper down into my journal and painting over that. Just making a mark and reminding myself it doesn't have to look like anything. It doesn't have to mean anything. It's practice. It's practice. Coming to the practice is what opens up that flow of energy, and it's that flow that I want to keep going. I think it's difficult if you walk away from your creative work, whatever it is, whether it's a piece of writing, or for me it's difficult, whether it's a piece of writing or a painting or whatever it is. If I walk away, it's harder to come back. Like every day that goes by, it's harder to come back. And so just showing up, even if you don't feel inspired, even if you don't feel the energy around it, just showing up continues to give yourself and your soul the signal that this is important to me. This is something that I'm going to do. What is inspiration? Does it come from an outside source? Does it come from within? Maybe both. There are just going to be days when we feel it and days when we don't. At the beginning of this lockdown that we're in now, it was really hard for me to work creatively. I felt like I was just steadying myself under all of this information and this pivot that we were all doing. And, okay, now I got to figure out what's going on. And there's a lot of fear coming at me, and I got to figure out how to deal with that. And so in the beginning of this, like for the first few weeks of this, I just wanted to sit. I just wanted to rest. And now I feel like I'm recalibrated. I'm kind of like, okay, I feel what we're doing now. I'm in a lockdown, all right, and I can work again. And I'm really grateful to have the work. I'm grateful to have that creative practice because it is an anchor. And that really is what creative expression, one of the purpose of creative expression is to be an anchor, to anchor you into yourself, to your truth, to your voice, and to spirit, to God, to your connection to all that is. So I hope that kind of answers this question. Thank you so much. If you have a question for me or a topic, anything you'd like for me to talk about in one of these studio talks, please send it to me. You can leave it in the comments here. You can leave it on my Facebook page, my Instagram, my website, wherever you find me. I love to hear from you. I would also love to work with you. I would love to paint for you. Check out soul care sessions on my website if that is something that appeals to you. Those are a more immediate way for us to work together, where I work for you in my art journal. Of course, you can always commission a prayer painting from me. There's a little bit of a delay right now on shipping prayer paintings because of the shutdown, but I am getting things done. And I would love to meet with you in the work. On the shop page on my website, you'll see that some things right now are pay what you can, and some things are deeply discounted. So there should be a way. If you want to work with me, I definitely want to work with you, and there should be a way for us to both do that comfortably. Thank you as always for being here. I'll talk to you next week.